Okay, that's it. Out of the family, 25 to life in jail. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the YouTube channel. If you do not know who I am Alex. I talk movies on this channel. I also talk a lot of James Bond. It's my favorite film franchise. I'm aspiring to be one of them Bond tube guys. Last year, for the 60th anniversary, I started doing some content. I think Pat and I ranked all the Bonds, the Bond actors, that is. And then I think the only other thing that I did was, hey, GoldenEye 64 is getting re-released. Those are the only two videos, and I guess you can count my ranking of all the movies that I did after No Time to Die came out in 2021. So I'm just picking up the pieces, even though it's the 61st anniversary this year. I'm picking up the pieces as to where I left off with the 60th anniversary. And so to do that, I'm going to bring on some guests to talk some Bond, some big Bond fans, maybe not as big as me, but because I'm a Bond expert. We have a Bond fan here who is dressed for the occasion. What's going on, Pat?
Hey, I'm very happy to be here, Alex. We talked about me doing a Bond ranking, and I thought it would be fun to have you me do a live reveal of my ranking to you and
I
have
bet.
you react.
Yeah, you said you were rewatching like most of these, and I was looking for your list on Letterboxd. I found your Reddit, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, um, yeah. So I was just like, maybe he put it on his Reddit, and I did some quiet digging and couldn't find anything. But essentially, what this is going to be, I'm the Bond expert. He's the Bond
A
fan.
fan, yeah.
Yeah. So what we're titling this video is Bond expert judges Bond fans ranking list. So I've already done a huge video ranking them. Um, I'm gonna go through and rank them again. I'm just gonna say the placements. I'm not gonna give a little blurb or anything. I know with Pat, yours is ranked based more on like enjoyment, right?
Enjoyment, and also just which ones I think are the better movies in most cases, too.
Yeah, mine's like which I think are the better movies. I like maybe some enjoyments in there, but it's mostly like the 5 out of 5 ones are at the top, then the 4.5, 4, and then there's all on Letterbox. So I'm just gonna go through my list real quick before we get into Pat's, and I judge his Bond ranking. So number 25, Diamonds Are Forever. Number 24, Die Another Day. Number 22, Moonraker. Number 23, On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Number 21, Quantum of Solace. Number 20, Tomorrow Never Dies. Number 19, I saw that nod. Uh,
Uh,
19, Live and Let Die. 18, For Your Eyes Only. 17, Octopussy. 16, A View to a Kill. 15, Thunderball. 14, The Living Daylights. 13, You Only Live Twice. 12, The Man with the Golden Gun. 11, License to Kill. 10, Spectre. 9, The World Is Not Enough. Woohoo! Number 8, Dr. No. 7, From Russia with Love. 6, The Spy Who Loved Me. 5, Goldeneye. 4, Goldfinger. 3, No Time to Die. 2, Casino Royale. And 1, Skyfall. And I just want to preface this, those top 5 are all 5 out of 5s on Letterboxd.
all
Yep.
right, all right. I mean, we're definitely gonna have different lists. Some of the ones
Well,
you said
see,
in there
okay.
are
I
definitely
want I want to preface this by saying this. I will probably disagree with most of it, but unlike every other series, though, this is the beauty of Bond lists
right.
because every Bond movie ranking is different depending on the fan, and every fan has a different favorite Bond movie. That's what I love about the series so much. Whereas, like, if you go to like Star Wars, it's like, nah, Empire Strikes Back is definitely the best one, and then mostly all the lists for all other franchises are the same. But Bond is just such a scatter plot of like lists and rankings. So as long as you're not like Casino Royale number 24 out of 25 and GoldenEye number 25, I'll listen to you. Okay. Because on that ranking video that I did, I had people be like, yeah, GoldenEye number 22. I'm like, are you smoking crack?
Hey, to each their own, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
that's you're
exactly.
right, though.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Bond movies is people say that no two Bond ranking lists are the same because there's so many movies that try so many different things. It's
Yeah.
always different for everyone. So, like,
Yeah.
if my mom had ranked her Bond list,
It would be
ro
all Roger.
literally, it would just be all Roger Moore and then the rest. So
Yeah. And no, Josh McCouga, they are not all the same. I don't care what you say. Okay. So I went through mine. what's your list?
All
Starting
right.
at let's start in descending order. So right at 25, and I think I know what 25 is. I have
So I,
suspicions.
I just want to say that I enjoy all of these movies to one degree or another. There are things I enjoy in each of them. Some of
Exactly.
them, the bottom two especially, are the ones I definitely find the least enjoyment in.
Yeah.
So I just want to preface that.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
I'll say
really.
that. I'll
I
say
could
that.
watch a Bond movie whenever,
Yeah,
essentially.
I'll say that too. I hate Diamonds Are Forever, but it's got Sean Connery, so there you
All
go.
right, so my number 25, Alex, is Die Another Day.
I figured it was either going to be that one or Quantum, but
Die, Ano-
I had a feeling it was once you watch Die Another. I had a feeling it was Die Another Day.
Die Another Day is a movie that starts off pretty well in the opening.
It's until you get to Cuba. Once Bond gets to Cuba, the movie goes
Yeah,
downhill.
yeah, it's an interesting concept, like Bond getting captured and tortured on a mission. Like that's a cool idea. He got sold out by someone in MI6. It's a cool idea for a setup. It does not follow through in a good
It's
way.
that movie should have just been the plot of that movie should not have involved all the facial reconstruction surgery. It should have just been okay, there's a mole in MI6 who betrayed me. Who is it? That's
Yeah,
what it should have been.
but instead it goes bananas pretty quick. Like
But
it because the problem is it's an anniversary film that's trying too hard to like honor everything else.
yeah,
So
because
it
you
turns
have
into
like
a
all the
ridiculous.
gadgets in like Q's workshop, and then it's like, oh, here's your watch, your 20th, you know?
Even more than that, like it goes from Bond getting captured in North Korea, which is interesting, to eventually gets to Bond is outrunning a satellite laser that's trying
No,
to
he's
murder
kite
him.
surfing.
Yeah, and kite surfing, and just the use of like CGI, I think goes like as much CGI as they do, because obviously a lot of Bonds use CGI to amplify things, but this like relies so heavily on
Yeah,
CGI because it was 2002
yeah, it
that it like
occupies that early 2000 space for sure.
yeah, it's like an insult to Bond is known for its practical effects, its practical stunts. So to see Pierce Brosnan on like a CGI iceberg, I'm
You know
like,
what though?
no.
Like, I think I have it ranked. I find no enjoyment in Diamonds Are Forever. Like I know that you kind of have a little bit of a rediscovered thought for that movie. Every time I watch it, I just can't do it because I like. But when I watch Die Another Day, I'm like, yeah, this is fucking atrocious. But at least like I'm having fun, like making fun of it. You know?
That's how I felt until this last rewatch. When I rewatched it like 2 weeks ago, I was like, okay, the opening's cool. The
Yeah.
rest of the movie is
Sword fight.
really bad, except for the sword fight.
Yeah.
I enjoy the sword fight and them having and Toby Stevens, if you haven't seen Black Sails, by the way, Toby Stevens is an amazing, amazing actor, and they completely waste him as Goose.
They make him say lines like, "You can't kill my dreams, but
Uh,
my dreams can kill you."
Parachutes for the both of us. Whoop, not anymore. um, and obviously, I Halle Berry as Jinx.
Insufferable.
Like
Insufferable.
her writing is so bad, and her and Bond's like flirting is so bad. I'm like, I can't. I just can't.
Insufferable.
The moment she enters the movie is kind of when I'm like, checked
That's
out.
where it's when she comes out of the water and does like her best Ursula Andress impersonation. Is
Yeah,
when the
another.
movie completely tanks, except for the
Yeah.
sword fight. It peaks again at the sword fight, and then it just goes right back down.
For me, Die Another Day, because it's trying so hard to like take elements from all the different Bond movies,
Yeah.
it doesn't have its own identity, and
No.
it's just kind of an amalgamation, a messy amalgamation of a bunch of different things, and it's like, nah,
Even Pierce Brosnan hates it. He was the one who was like, "Hey, you should probably bring it back to formula," you know?
yeah. So that's my 25.
Okay.
24. I know this movie has its fans, especially nowadays. It has a lot more defenders than it used to. But I'm sorry, Quantum of Solace. I just can't.
I think what I'm gonna try and do actually, I think I'm gonna try and guess each one for you too.
Okay.
Because I was like 20, 25 was either Quantum or Die Another Day, and I'm like, well, Quantum's not 25. It's got to be 24. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Quantum is to me
not a movie.
has never felt like its own movie. I know it has its own plot with like the water and Dominic Green, but it's it's so reliant on being a follow-up to Casino Royale,
Mhm.
and it's short. It's like an hour and a half, and it's mostly action scenes because of it was filmed during the writer's strike and all that. Um, it just doesn't. It never feels like its own movie, and it never feels like a Bond movie to me. A lot of the editing is
Oh my god.
people talk about most last time I watched it, I especially tried to like be like, okay, are people over hating on the editing? No. It's headache
Yeah.
inducing. It's
I've
literally 20 shots you don't need in the middle of all the action. Like, let's just stay focused on the car for
I,
3 seconds.
I've never
3 seconds.
I've never heard worse excuses for the editing in this movie than, oh, it's Bond's mental psychosis. That's why the editing's all. I'm like, no, that's bullshit.
Even so, even if that's the case, if Mark Forster or whatever, if he's
Because this
trying
man,
to
he's like philosophical, and he's trying to make a philosophical Bond movie.
I don't. It just doesn't work for me. I think Dominic Green is a terrible villain, like one of the most boring, bland, forgettable Bond villains.
I think if Dominic Green was slightly better, this movie could be slightly better.
Maybe I just the editing alone is so awful and
Like the horse
off-putting.
race. What's the point of the horse race?
The horse racing in between the like, it's just the cuts are so awful. And I'm like, one of the things you need to be able to do when you're making a James Bond movie is you need to be able to do good action.
Yeah.
Because if you can't do good action, you're missing a critical part of the recipe to make a good Bond movie. So if I'm watching this movie and maybe some of these action scenes would be amazing if it wasn't chopped to hell, right? It's like literally the car chase is like, oh,
The second
every
half of the car chase
movement.
is better. I like that's kind of why it's grown on me a little bit. I don't think it's a great action scene or anything. I mean, but I think the only action scene that I really like in this movie is probably the boat chase.
Yeah, the boat
That's a
chase is
decent
like
one.
probably the best one.
Yeah.
Um,
The plane chase, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but it comes out of nowhere, you know?
and I appreciate the movie trying to do something with like, oh, Bond is obviously still upset about the whole Vesper thing, and he's kind of on an angry tear,
Not
and
enough
he's
of that though.
there's just it doesn't focus enough on it where that becomes kind of like the subplot where eventually they tie it up at the end.
Yeah.
But the it just doesn't let first of all, the runtime doesn't let any chance for like a breath.
So
Like you're just constantly moving, like a really horribly edited shaky cam way. Um, and I just people consider this like, oh, they're doing what License to Kill did. I'm like, no, License to Kill was actually a revenge movie.
yeah, that was a revenge movie.
This isn't a revenge
Straightforward
movie.
revenge, yeah.
It's Bond being kind of angry most of the time. But I mean, this movie has a couple things I enjoy. I like the opera scene. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love the fact that they're all meeting and then he calls them out and they all start leaving and Mr. White is the only one smart enough to go, I'm gonna stay seated.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like it had Daniel Craig still gives a decent performance. I do think it's his weakest Bond performance mainly because he's not given enough time to show layers because he's just running around angry the whole time.
Yeah, I mean he's doing his own stunts, but the problem is it's like you can't see him doing his own stunts. Like
Yeah.
I remember when this came out, he described Casino Royale as a walk in the park compared to this one because I think he like broke his rotator cuff or something, and then like he chopped off like the top of his finger. But you would never know that because the editing is so bad, you know. So,
Yeah,
and then he was like, well, like we couldn't legally hire anybody to write it, and it's like I was so passionate about the movie, like I just threw myself into the stunts. So he's like, that was the one thing I could do, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, Quantum to me, it has like the opposite problem as Die Another Day, where Die Another Day like doesn't. It feels too much like too many Bond movies.
Yeah.
Where Quantum of Solace doesn't feel like a Bond movie. It feels like a couple extra like extended scenes from Casino Royale. Like I used to say to you, I'm like, this is like the DLC.
Yeah.
This is like the extra
Well,
level.
I mean, speaking of video games, like it's also a bad omen when the Quantum of Solace video game focuses more on Casino Royale.
I mean, there's not enough to cover in this movie. You know, there's just it's
Okay,
unfortunate.
because Mark Forster was like Casino Royale is too long. I want this one to be fast and short like a bullet.
It just doesn't work. It's you don't get enough focus on Bond's journey. You don't get enough. Dominic Green isn't a strong enough villain to like care, and his plot isn't interesting enough. Like I don't know. It never has worked for me.
The problem, I think,
I always wanted to, and it never does.
the problem I have too is they try to make Dominic Green like super like menacing because like he's like standing talking to Camille like on the dock, like, and they're standing over a dead body that's drowned. He's like, I took it. I'm like, this isn't like menacing or anything.
No, they try, but it just doesn't work with him. So I
Yeah.
don't know. He's a weak, he's a
I'm,
weak
I'm,
villain and a weak
I'm
Bond.
glad the movie has a renaissance because, like I said, every Bond movie is somebody's favorite.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame people that like Quantum. Like, I'm not gonna hold that against them.
Dude, I used to really like Quantum.
I remember it. I remember. Yeah.
But it's every time I watch it, it just goes further down the list.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just missing something. But you know what? At least it has David Harbour.
As Beam.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they
he's
do
always
nothing
great.
to him either.
Yeah, I don't know. And Strawberry Fields, completely forgettable. Rip off Death of Goldeneye for no reason. I'm like, why? I'm not Goldeneye, Goldfinger.
That pisses
Um,
me off. Oh,
and
like oil is the world's last like precious. No, fuck you.
and like Olga Kurylenko's good as Camille. Like,
I
but they
like
don't
that's
they don't focus enough on that either.
no, but I do like her, and I'm mostly like Camille, even though she's not fully fleshed out. I like that they made her like not necessarily a Bond love interest. So I mean, yeah, there's things about Quantum to like. It's just like it just goes down further every time.
Yeah, it's just one. It's one for me where when I watch a Bond movie, I want it to end and to feel good and to feel like I just had a fun time. And with Quantum, I just don't enjoy it that much. I just feel like it's just kind of happened.
That gets me worried about another Craig one coming up.
So number 23. What are you thinking, Alex? What do you think I'm gonna put?
I think you're gonna put The World's Not Enough just to piss me off.
No, 23. I have Moonraker,
Okay, good.
which is a movie I always wish I enjoyed more than I do. Um, it's fine. It's like a fine by the numbers Bond movie for most of it. Um, my problem isn't even that he goes to space because I don't really like that part either. My problem is that a little bit into the movie, after you get some of like investigating Drax and stuff, a little bit in, all of a sudden the movie just becomes a collection of like Jaws chasing Bond scene where it's like he's at the parade and here's Jaws in the mask, and that's like, oh, that's kind of scary. But then he gets like pushed away by the crowd, and then it's like, okay, the next scene, Bond's on like a gondola. And then Jaws shows up trying to bite the gondola thing, and I'm like, okay. And then he keeps going, where it's like, we have to send you to the Amazon River, and then Jaws
It's like
is
the
there.
movie's like fourth boat chase.
Yeah, and then like it just felt like an unnecessary pit stop. But my favorite thing in Moonraker, which almost bumped it up a rating because I love it so much, is the pre-title sequence.
The
That
pre-title
whole
sequence is awesome.
Yeah, the whole free falling stunt with Jaws
It is
there and stuff.
practical.
That's
Like,
great.
that's like that's. I mean, I won't want to assume it's Roger Moore, but I mean, it's either a stunt double of Bond and
It's definitely a stunt.
superimposed Roger Moore's face onto it.
Yeah, it's a
But
stunt double.
like, that's all practical. It's amazing. It's a great. Yeah.
It's a great stunt.
I'm kind of a sucker for the Moonraker song.
It's all right.
It's all right. I used to think it was horrible, but now I'm like, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, was Shirley Bassey coming back?
What?
Shirley Bassey coming back?
Yeah. No, Moonraker. I'm glad I'm not the only one that has this down super low on his list. Moonraker, like you said, I think the first 2/3 of the movie are solid. It's always once they get into space. Like, and I know you said that's not necessarily the problem. I think that's the problem for me because then it ceases to be a James Bond movie and becomes a Star Wars movie.
Which was kind of the intent when they were like, "Oh, Star Wars is huge. Let's do a space movie next instead."
And to think that Craig was gonna go to outer space, like I'm like, thank God that didn't happen. They learned their lesson.
Yeah, there are parts I like in Moonraker. I like,
and then I think too what it's just that entire last third kills all Moonraker for me. It's like, oh, Jaws goes to space with his love interest Dolly, and then it's like, well, he turns good, but not only that, he's got to talk too. I'm like, no, that was like the charm of Jaws, that he was the silent assassin, and then you have him go, well, here's to us. I'm like, that just ruined Jaws.
Yeah, he's not treated well in this movie, but I do like the beginning portion of the movie where Bond is investigating Drax because I love the scene where he's shooting the birds, and there's the sniper that's about to kill him, and then he shoots the sniper, and Drax is like, "You missed," and he's like, "Did I?" And the guy like falls out of the tree.
Yeah, I think my problem
So
too
good.
with Moonraker is it's legitimately copy and paste Spy Who Loved Me.
Yes, 100%, which is another big problem. They saw the success of Spy Who Loved Me. They said, "Let's do that, and then put it in space,
This
and we're
is
good."
nothing like the Moonraker book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's a completely original thing. Because they were just like, all right, let's just do what we did with Spy Who Loved Me, but instead of water, let's do space. So,
yep. Yeah, it's low for me. I've never really enjoyed it, and I think people will notice as I go through my list that Roger Moore for me is, as I enjoy his movies, I enjoy him as Bond, but he's not a favorite of mine. I sometimes think he plays it more kind of smug than I would want Bond to be, but I don't know. We'll see as we continue down my rank. 22.
I'm going. I'm gonna say. Oh, this is tough. I'm gonna say Spectre.
Nope, Diamonds Are Forever.
Oh yeah, fuck! I forgot about Diamonds Are Forever. That
Uh,
tells you how much I hate it. I
this
went.
for
Whoa, wait, hold on. Did that go up from 25 to 21? Holy
22 to
shit!
22 to 22.
Oh, 20. Holy shit! Went up 3 spots, huh?
Yes. So when
Damn.
I watched
I still hate
Diamonds Are
it.
Forever, um, I used to have for the longest time at the bottom of my list. I had seen it like once many years ago. I didn't enjoy it, and it just stayed at the bottom of my list. I rewatched it during this whole rewatch, and I had such a different experience with this movie. It's funny, it's witty,
I don't think
it's
it's funny.
it's got camp. You don't think it's funny? What's that line when Bond comes out of the sewer and he's like, "Oh, I just saw a rat down there," whatever. Like it was
I
so.
mean, yeah, he's got like the quips, but like I don't know, some of the other stuff that's in the movie, like I'm just rolling my eyes half the time.
I mean, for me, it's a product of its time for sure. It's like early 70s getting into the Roger Moore camp stuff, but with Connery. And Wint and Kidd, though, make this movie. Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, like this time watching them, they are so interesting in the realm of Bond henchmen.
Yeah,
They're not the usual like big heavy dudes, and they're not like the big blonde guys, or they're not femme fatales. They're two normal looking dudes that just well, not normal. They're kind of creepy looking, but they're like unassuming.
yeah.
They're unassuming and they're sadistic and they're terrifying, but they're also hilarious. Like they're so fun to watch their scenes where they're like, "Oh, a scorpion, the world's greatest killer, Mr. Wint. Always fine to learn from a professional, Mr. Kidd," or something like that. Like they're so good, and they're like throughout the movie, they're just there. Like Bond doesn't even like know they're there, but they keep trying to kill him, and it's great. I also like Bond being in Las Vegas. I know a lot of
Well,
people
yeah,
have problems.
I mean, yeah, that's one thing. Like the two things I like about the movie is like the Las Vegas setting. Because Bond really has. I don't think he, at this point in the series he went to America. Well, no, he did because he was in Miami and Goldfinger after the pre-title sequence. But like, I don't think we've had like this much of a Bond film take place like in the States to like this extent, like at that point in the series. So I like that, and I like Connery. Everything else, I don't know. Like every time I watch Diamonds Are Forever, like because with every Bond movie I don't like, I always go into it being like, okay, maybe this is the time where I'll like it a little bit more. It'll climb up in my ranking. Diamonds Are Forever is never that for me.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely not a perfect movie. I really don't like Charles Gray's Blofeld.
He's the worst Blofeld. You say
Yeah,
what you want about Christoph Waltz, but Charles Jump to the Left Gray is worse.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of his. I really like the plot though that he's kind of in a hotel room pretending to be um was Willard White. And like that's such an interesting idea that he's kind of this recluse. And then I love Bond hopping on top of an elevator, just standing there looking all badass outside of a building on an elevator. And then when he like makes his way up into the room and you find out it's Blofeld, that's the whole time that this rich guy, this Howard Hughes type is Blofeld. Like that's such a good like
I
plot.
I don't really like the Blofeld clones though.
Yeah, I mean the Blofeld clones or whatever, but
Yeah.
the idea of like a recluse like that, a Howard Hughes type, who's no one has seen in forever, but like is up on top of a hotel in a penthouse, and it turns out to be Blofeld the whole time, is like such a good twist. I love
Yeah,
that twist so much.
I think too with this movie where you're following up Majesties, it should have just been another straightforward. Like it should have just been Bond getting revenge on Irma Bunt and Blofeld, which was originally what it was gonna be, but they changed it to only doing that in the pre-title sequence because the actress that played Irma Bunt died, I
Yeah.
guess.
And I
So
mean, it isn't a great follow up to On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
no,
They don't mention Tracy. They don't mention that Blofeld
no,
killed his wife.
they
But
kind of
it's
act
it's
like they kind of act like nothing happened, you know?
it's it no, but it's an easy fix because all you really have to do is go, oh, this takes place after You Only Live Twice.
Yeah,
He's in Japan at the beginning. It's Sean Connery.
yeah,
You could
that's
easily
true.
just go, oh,
I guess you can say that pre-title sequence too, where he's chasing everybody and asking where Blofeld is. Like, I guess you could say that that's inward, like a direct sequel to You Only Live Twice. But
yeah,
I don't see it that way. I've always seen that, like, especially if you watch them in order. Like, if you watch them out of order, it's a little different. But if
sure.
you watch them in order and you go from You Only Live Twice to Majesties to Diamonds, I never take it that way. That it's like that it just kind of ignores
Oh
Majesties
yeah, yeah.
and it's following up You Only Live Twice because it's Connery. I've always kind of looked at that as no, this is following up Majesties. Bond's getting revenge for Blofeld for killing Tracy.
But they never bring it up.
Yeah, that's the
They
thing.
never bring it up.
I
So
know.
in my head canon, he's just pissed he got away and You Only Live Twice, and he's going after it. And then eventually, the Blofeld not knowing what he looks like in On Her Majesty's Secret Service doesn't make sense no matter where you put it. So you could easily put that
Yeah.
after this.
Yeah, true.
and for your eyes only, Blofeld's neck is still broken from the end of On Her Majesty's Secret Service, so that makes sense.
Is that Blofeld though? No matter how much they want, it's him.
Yeah, so Diamonds Are Forever. It's a goofy movie. It's a campy movie. It's for me a funny movie. It's got some stupid parts, but a lot of Bond movies of that era do. It's just I had so much more fun with this one. I still don't love it, but I enjoyed it a lot more, so it went up in my rankings.
See, it's one of those. It's one of those. Like, I'll admit, Tomorrow Never Dies, where I hope that it gets better every time I rewatch it. But like, I don't have any enjoyment watching this. Like, I understand the camp and I understand that argument. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, the only thing that really doesn't work for me now is probably the last section on the oil rig.
I think that section's horrible.
Yeah, not a great third act. I love all the capery stuff before that of like the diamonds switching hands and the Mr. Wins Mr. Kid trying to take out the diamond smuggling ring. Like, it's cool.
Yeah.
21.
I'm gonna say that's Spectre.
View to a Kill.
Is that low? Holy
Yep.
shit! Yeah, is it because Roger's like so old and he looks so out of place?
Listen, the reason Alex is a little shocked right now is because I've always been a defender of View to a Kill, and
I
I'm
have
still a
too. That's why
defender
it's
of
a
View to a
little
Kill.
higher up.
I enjoy it overall. I think it's a fun time. I love the song. The Duran Duran song is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Max Zorin, a great villain. Mayday, a great henchman. But the rest of the movie is slow.
I kind of there's something that I've never really seen brought up about A View to a Kill that I hold against it. I feel like this was. I mean, you could say because Bond took place in America, and like as we just said, Diamonds Are Forever. There's parts of Live and Let Die set in the States as well. But I feel like this one, especially where it came out in the '80s, was like the attempt to really, really Americanize Bond because it's like the middle of the movie when they're in like San Francisco feels like a procedural cop drama.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, and I'm just like, this feels like every American police movie.
Yeah.
Ever.
The cop's got to go to the girl's house to like protect her, and then they fall in love. Like, yeah.
But did you notice what's his name this time? After
Yes. Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's not even just Roger's age, which is very distracting. And I don't want to say like, oh, you're too old to play Bond, but there hits a point where unless the movie addresses how old he is or gives him a love interest that is like more believable as like not his like granddaughter, that it's distracting. And then the movie itself, the whole first chunk of it at the horse stables is so slow to the point where my wife thinks of this one just as the one with all the horses.
I don't, you know, I actually don't mind that because I'm like, okay, Bond's like investigating whether or not these horses have steroids in them and all that. You know, it's
Sure.
fine. The movie, like I said, I think we're both defenders of this movie to an extent. Like,
Yes. I enjoy watching it.
actually,
It's
you know,
fun.
reading my list, I actually thought I had it higher up, but it's kind of somewhat towards the middle slash bottomish. The people who put it right at the bottom, like, I kind of get it, but
Sure.
there's still a certain amount of fun I have watching A View to a Kill. Like the chase in Paris, as much as that isn't Roger in that car, like that Paris chase, like where he's chasing Mayday through Paris, that's actually kind of fun.
Oh, yeah, there's some great stunt work in this movie. The jump off the Eiffel Tower with the parachute,
Yeah, it's
the
amazing.
whole Golden Gate Bridge sequence is just
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But it's only ruined by, unfortunately, one of the worst women in the whole series, Stacey Sutton.
Rest in peace, Tanya Roberts.
She's terrible as a character.
Yes!
Just so many. You could do a whole supercut of just her screaming James. Like there's a part when Mayday and James get washed away, she's like staring at the water for like 5 seconds, and then she goes, James! And I'm like, he's like long gone. That happened like, what the hell?
Like people complain about all the times Leo DiCaprio says Rose in Titanic. This is worse.
Oh, way worse. Yeah. This is, and I know you love Temple and Doom, Alex, but she's the Willie of James Bond. Like it's awful.
That's an insult.
But Christopher Walken as a Bond,
Yeah, he's
villain,
great.
can't really go wrong.
Yeah,
You can't really go wrong.
Anybody else want to get out? Okay,
but,
here's the problem though. What's his operation in this movie called?
it is Operation Main Strike,
Yeah, I'm like, isn't this just Operation Grand Slam?
pretty much. It's I'm gonna like destroy Silicon Valley, so I'm the only one who does microchips.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but there's also like a lot of like interesting story beats that they don't really dive
Like
into in
Max
this
Zorin
movie.
being XKGB.
Not even just XKGB. He's a super soldier, and so is Mayday. Like they're super soldiers developed by his like old Nazi like old man he has with him all the time. I'm like, this is interesting, and they don't do anything. Mayday like picks up people, and she's super strong, but Max Zorin like. It's not really a big deal in the movie that he's like a super soldier. He's just
Like the most memorable thing he does is just machine gun a bunch of mine workers.
He's definitely psychotic, which I
Yeah.
think he plays really well. But I also always laugh at the scene, and I feel kind of bad, even though it's like they're terrible people. When he's like about to fall, and then the old Dr. Mortar or whatever
Yeah.
is like hanging out of the blimp, and he's like, Max! Max! And then Max sees him and just like laughs like a psycho and then falls. And I'm just like, oh, that's sad. That was like his son, his weird creation of like Nazi experimentation.
Dude, like
But they,
even even being like XKGB, like even Gogol hates it.
Yeah, it's interesting. And they don't really get into any of that stuff. They just go, oh, we're just going to San Francisco. We're not really going to talk about that. Like, okay. But it's an enjoyable one. I always had a soft spot for this one.
I have to.
Again, I love the song, and I love how it's incorporated
amazing.
throughout the movie. It's great.
Even the pre-title sequence is great.
I think it's great
It's
until
not
the
as
beach.
good as it's very similar to Spy Who Loved Me, so it's not as good as the Spy Who Loved Me.
When the Beach Boys kicks in,
Yeah,
that's what
that's kind of weird. That's
Yeah,
weird.
I'm like, we didn't need to do that. You could have just done like the Bond theme or something when he starts snowboarding.
Imagine him like skiing with like snowboarding because he's got one ski on. But imagine him doing that to like the Bond theme.
Yeah, that would have been so much cooler.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a decent one, but Roger's definitely showing his age,
yeah.
and it feels tired.
Yeah. You could tell
I'll
he didn't want to come back. He was just like, fine.
I'll get into it pretty soon, but I really feel like the last few Roger Moore movies would have been much improved. And as much as I like Roger, and as much as I think he still acts well in View to a Kill.
Yeah,
It's just it's not believable to see this like 50-something-year-old dude like fighting.
He was 58 when it was released.
I would have. I think they would have done better if Dalton was in those last few.
Yeah.
I think the movies themselves would have been improved, but
Yeah, but then the whole landscape of the movies probably would have been changed.
it's true. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, so you said this next one's big. What is this? 21?
this is gonna be 20.
20? Uh, I'm worried. I'm worried. Like I keep saying Spectre, and I have a feeling it's Spectre, but I'm also worried that this is the world is not enough. Those are my two guesses.
Number 20 is indeed Spectre.
Okay, you're
I will give my spiel.
okay.
I know you disagree because, as you said in your list, this was what, number 10 on your list?
Yeah.
Spectre, to me, I have a very soft spot for because this is the first one my wife and I saw in theaters together. It was her first Bond movie in theaters. We watched a bunch of Bond movies to build up to this. So I have a big soft spot for this movie. It is at 20, even though I do have a soft spot, because I just find it to be so boring and
I get it.
so little passion is put behind it compared especially to Skyfall, the previous movie. It's the same director, Mr. Sam Mendes, who I think really, really, really didn't want to make this movie and just wanted to sleep his way through. It has no really exciting action. It has some of the most boring and lifeless action I've ever seen in a Bond movie. It's Daniel Craig still giving a good performance. I enjoy some of the intrigue. I enjoy seeing Spectre again, even though I'm not particularly cool with how they eventually use them. Um, Blofeld was such a disappointment.
Yes,
Christoph Waltz is such a good actor.
I
On
agree.
paper, he is a perfect Blofeld, but the movie does not use him properly at
They
all.
they didn't know how to write him, and okay. Your criticisms so far are mostly my criticisms because my big criticisms with this movie are the action, the writing, and the music. Because I don't like the musical score by Thomas Newman in this movie either. But the rest of the movie, I'm like, I still enjoy. It's high up because I'm just like it. To me, it's the Craig one. Like, and I know we were kind of discussing this over text the other day. It feels the most like a classic Bond movie because you have all the classic Bond elements in it, like gun barrel back at the beginning, the classic Bond James Bond line, like a world domination plot. But I get it. Like the action is just not all that exciting. The car chase is a giant car commercial.
Dude,
I I I,
I hate that car chase.
I still do not understand why people defend
I'm sorry, defend what?
the Day of the Dead sequence.
I like the like one shot that sets it
The
up.
tracking shot's amazing,
Yeah,
and then
but then after that,
even him chasing Skiara through the crowd, I'm like, okay, like this is awesome. It's once Bond and Skiara get into the helicopter, it's boring, and then Bond just
unlike
makes stupid decisions in that scene anyway.
unlike Quantum of Solace, which is why I have this definitely higher than Quantum, I
It's,
can see what's happening in the action
and it's
sequences.
at least a movie.
It's at least a movie. I can see what's happening. There's not terrible editing, but what's happening is so boring. That car chase you brought up between Hinks and Bond in Rome,
Yeah.
what the hell was that? It's literally like there's no one on the streets. It's just two cars that are beautiful looking cars driving around. Kind of, you forget they're in a car chase. There's like no action. He's like calling up Moneypenny to give exposition while there's a dude trying to kill him back there, but they don't treat it like there's a guy trying to kill him. And like there's a cool setup where it's like, oh, Q hasn't really outfitted this car with everything yet, so like I'm gonna try this, and that's not gonna
Dude,
work.
some of that shit,
And that could be fun, but it's not fun. It's so
some of
boring.
that stuff's funny though. Like when he puts on the music and it's enabled for 009, it's not even the real New York, New York. It's a cover version. So I'm like, 009 listens to cover versions of classic songs while on missions, huh? That's
And
funny.
it's just
I just
the
find that
action.
funny.
The action in the movie just keeps letting it down, no matter what part
I
of the movie
do.
it is. The downhill snow skiing
I
part
don't
with
mind that one.
it's fine, but it's kind of it's just by the numbers, and it's there's no memorable moment in it. It's like, oh, it's a cool idea. Bond's chasing them on a plane, but for the whole first part of it, he's just going, "Wow, wow," and you see Hinkson like battling her, just like, and like that's it, and then he like follows them and crashes the plane, and it's like, okay,
The other
but then
problem,
the biggest action offender of this whole movie, the biggest is the escape from Blofeld, is the weakest action I will dare say in all of James Bond. What
it's
the
not a
hell
good
was
action
that?
scene. Like I said, I've compared it it's not an incomplete action sequence, but every time I watch it, like I compare it to an incomplete action sequence. I'm like, there's at least like another like 2 minutes missing here. It feels like.
There's suspension of disbelief in Bond, obviously, where he's outrunning bullets, he's not getting shot, but they always do a good job of making it feel like it's fun to watch,
It's way too easy.
or that there's stakes.
Yeah.
This scene, there's no stakes, there's no excitement. He walks out of the building, he shoots the guy, he shoots the guy, he instantly shoots them like a mile away. Boom, you're dead. Boom, you're dead, and then just walks out of there. And I'm like, where's the excitement? Where is the chase?
I really wish that the last chunk of like, because what was really changed in the leaked script when Sony got hacked and that script got leaked, it was really when they got to Blofeld's observatory to the end. Like they changed a lot because they brought on another writer, and that writer was like, well, I didn't like Bond like sitting around talking to people. I was just more interested in him shooting people. So they shortened a lot of the scenes and they changed that around. So originally Bond didn't even get tortured by Blofeld. They played cards, and Blofeld brought up a childhood story, like why he hates Bond and this game they used to play, and then in order to escape, Bond and Madeline have to like override like a hard drive to like blow up the whole thing, and they have to get on the horn with Q. I'm like, this is way cooler than what we got in the movie. I mean, but again, you can't compare something that wasn't made. Like, it might sound better. It's like the whole Rise of Skywalker thing. We'll probably talk about it with No Time to Die too when I bring up that. But it's like you can't compare something that wasn't made to something that was made, even if it sounds better on paper.
Yeah, you just have no idea. All I can really judge is what they gave me, and what they gave me was very boring action. And I'm sorry, I can't brush over how terrible the Brofeld thing of it all is. What a terrible decision. Let's take the plot twist of a joke movie, Goldmember, and let's make it actually part of the movies. I'm like, are you fucking serious? And the worst offender, Alex, the worst part of this is that it really doesn't play a role in anything. It's just, this is why I did all this. I hate the contrived reason of this is why all of this happened, James, is because I am the author of all your pain. I hated you because my dad liked you more. So that's why all the Craig movies have happened, was because dad liked you best. So that's why I've been harassing you. It's ridiculous. The Bond in the old Spectre storyline in Connery movies, it worked because Bond was a thorn in their side. They only went after him because he killed Dr. No. And they were like, oh, this guy's a problem. We need to get rid of him. It was never, we're specifically targeting him from the very beginning. That is so stupid.
And it makes Skyfall feel even less impactful.
It makes Skyfall worse. Like, it hurts Skyfall.
Yeah.
It hurts. I mean, having Quantum be a part of Spectre is fine because Quantum was like whatever to begin with. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But Blofeld going after Bond because of a childhood grievance to the point where he goes through all this elaborate 4 movies worth of shit just to go at to make him suffer. I'm like, no, that hurts all the Craig movies. It doesn't work. If it had been Craig got in the way of their plans and then they targeted him, sure, but to have it be Blofeld is Oberhauser and like all this nonsense. Which I keep saying the biggest thing, but the biggest thing I still hate is that it was a whole trope in movies for a little while. But
I know what you're about to say, and I dislike it more than the whole Brofeld thing.
I just hate the fact that he's like, it's a big reveal that I took my mother's name, Blofeld. Like, that Bond doesn't matter.
Bond gets trendy. It didn't matter in Star Trek Into Darkness either.
It literally doesn't matter. But even at least Into Darkness, as much as I hate the Khan reveal, at least they had one character who it affected, which was the old Spock, going, oh no, that's bad. Khan was real bad. This movie literally has nobody that affects.
There's no more Bond, you know.
It's literally just Blofeld looking at the camera and going, I am Blofeld.
Why would
Bond care? Why does that matter? It's still Oberhauser as far as he's concerned.
Well,
Like
that's
he
why I've always kind of that's why I've kind of always found it like, especially like in the third act in London, where he just starts referring to him as Blofeld. I'm like, you know him as Oberhauser.
you would know him as Ernst. You guys grew up together, or not Ernst, whatever Franz or whatever the hell
Yeah,
his name was. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. And like I appreciate trying to connect it to Skyfall and being like, oh, we found this secret in like your family childhood home. It's like, sure, but it doesn't work. And it hurts Blofeld as a character. It hurts all the previous Craig movies because now it's just a personal vendetta about from his evil brother. Like, what? If you watch Casino Royale knowing that, it's like this that doesn't jive with what's happening in Casino
yeah,
Royale.
yeah.
It
Um,
doesn't work.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like even with the boring action and the writing being all over the place, like it's for me. I still have that classic Bond movie vibe, even with all of your grievances. I get it. I get it. I just but like I think also too, it's when people are like, this one is smack dab at the bottom. I'm like, okay, you're calling this worse than Quantum of Solace,
I mean, some people prefer Quantum, which I
which
mean,
is insane to me. But
I mean,
I'm like,
I
okay, one of them's a movie, a messy movie, but a movie. The other one's
right.
just editing, that needs editing. Okay.
But I mean, I could see the argument of which one hurts the previous movies more, which would be Spectre, I would say.
Yes. But this might be a controversial take. I actually think No Time to Die makes Spectre a little bit better.
We'll see if I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spectre to me, I like parts of it. I think it's
Yeah.
beautifully shot. I
Yeah.
think Sam Mendes can still make something look pretty.
Yeah.
I think Craig does a good performance. I like Madeline well enough. Hinks is fine. He's
Yeah.
kind of generic, but he's fine.
Yeah. He doesn't use the metal fingernails enough.
Yeah, I like that we had a henchman, like a notable henchman again. That was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the action for me, the lack of, I mean, literally the third act is so bad.
Yeah. It's just Bond walking through like the blown up MI6.
I hate that. I hate that Blofeld took the time to do that, and I
Yeah,
hate
like
that
like
Blofeld's there
like
by
go through
himself.
MI6 and put up papers, be like, he's gonna stop here.
It's just, it's just dumb. Like I
Yeah.
just, and the whole maybe if the whole Nine Eyes thing was more interesting, that could be something, but it's not.
It's literally Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and I don't remember a lick of Rogue Nation.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I have a soft spot for it because of personal reasons, and I have a fine time watching it. I just sit there going, I wish this was more exciting.
yeah, yeah. They definitely they. Yeah, it was obvious. Like once they got the rights to Spectre back, they were like, we got to use it now, and we got to use it like like as soon as we can, essentially. Which I think they probably should have waited for the next actor, but I think you and I may have difference of opinion when we talk about No Time to Die again. So, because that's probably the most controversial Bond movie. But but yeah, no. Also, I also just it's not necessarily a problem with this movie because it is a problem with this movie. But Skyfall, I think it worked the best. This one, it didn't work at all. No Time to Die, it mostly worked for me. They got to stop introducing the villains like halfway through or like at the end because it doesn't. It like I need a consistent like scenes with him throughout the whole thing. Like it worked with Silva. Like even though Safin's barely in No Time to Die, I still felt like his presence was felt. But I think with Blofeld in this movie, you could easily just write this movie and be like, yeah, it's just some random dude, like or like, oh yeah, I feel like Blofeld's not gonna pop up because Safin at least I feel like Safin could pop up at any moment.
We'll get to
That's
him.
the yeah, we'll get to it, but like that's the thing. I'm like, and I mean Silva's just a maniac anyway, so yeah. All right.
So yeah, Spectre was my number 20, your number 10. We'll continue
That's
with my
crazy. That
reveal.
is crazy.
Yeah, that's a pretty big
But you better watch yourself though. You're almost going to jail here. Okay.
uh,
Um,
19, my number 19.
better not be world's not enough.
You keep saying that. I love it. You're like, let me guess. And then every
I'm
guess
gonna
is,
say
please, not World's Not Enough.
I'm actually gonna say Octopussy on this one.
You're correct. Number 19 is Octopussy.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Octopussy is it's one I enjoy watching. It's a fun one. Um,
Which egg is the real egg?
it's one of the only Bond movies, this and Diamonds Are Forever, that are more like a caper than
Yeah.
they are like a traditional spy movie.
Yeah.
But it has enough elements of like the Cold War espionage type stuff.
Yeah.
Roger is starting to look a little old, but
Especially this one. This one is.
they actually cater the movie towards that a bit more
Well,
than they do
do you know
because
why?
Maud Adams is more age appropriate
Which is
than
good.
Stacey Sugg.
Which is good. As much as I don't like them bringing actors back for different roles, it worked in this one. But do you know why they brought Roger back for this one?
Yes, because of the Battle of the Bonds
Yes,
with Sean Connery's non-canon "Never Say Never Again."
which was just a remake of Thunderball because that was the Kevin McClory Bond movie. So,
Yep.
yep.
Yeah, so I get why they brought Roger back, but it's just the movie itself. It has some really fun sequences.
It
Like
does.
I love him running through the market and the performers around the market. He like pulls the sword out of the guy's mouth, or like different things like
I
that
love
are
that he
fun
throws
little
all the
things.
money on. Okay.
Yeah, like that's fun stuff. Him like running through the jungle trying to
Any,
avoid getting hunted.
anything with General Orlov is top tier fun.
See,
I am going to create disarmament in this region of the world.
you
This
love
Woody
Orlov.
Harrelson over there
I don't see why you love him so much.
because he's so over the top. He overemphasizes all of his lines. It's amazing.
You talked about Orlov recently. Then as I was doing my rewatch, I was turning Octopussy on. I'm like, oh yeah, like I forgot a lot of this movie. And then Orlov comes on. I'm like, why is Alex obsessed with this guy?
It's discount Woody Harrelson.
Yeah. I liked Kamal Khan actually better than Orlov because I love
Gobinda's a great henchman.
Octopussy.
I think the problem I have with Octopussy, and I have no problem with this being ranked as low. I think it's a little. Where was it for me? I think it was a little higher for me. It was at 17 for me. I think this movie has a problem balancing the whole caper thing with the whole there's a bomb at a circus thing and we're gonna blow it up to make it look like it's the Americans doing it so that we can invade all of Europe. I'm like, those two plots kind of conflict, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's a movie where it takes a long time to understand what the actual plot is.
Exactly.
Like it takes a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like I think the train sequence is great. I think that should have been
And
the
it's
climax.
too long, though.
Yeah, but it should have been the climax because you get through the train sequence and then you're still like, wait, there's more. And then you have like Kamal Khan on the plane, and I'm like, and then you have the Octopussy's people attack his place first. I'm like,
That's
Jesus.
Fun. That's cool. But I do love when Bond's on the plane and Kamal Khan's like, go get him to Gobinda, and Gobinda's like on the plane, and then does he do the antenna? He hits him in the head with the antenna.
In the face.
Yep.
Yeah.
Classic Roger Moore Bond movie. Yeah, Octopussy, I think, gets the reputation of being like, oh, this is going to be a terrible movie because it's called Octopussy.
Yeah, that's a terrible title.
Yeah. So that was the one when I was like little where I was like, I don't want to watch that. It's got a weird ass title. But every time I watch it, I do have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
Even if I have a lot of problems with it. Wait, what's up with Bond's gun in this movie? It's not the PPK. It's weird. It's that one little detail that's just always bothered me about it. But yeah, Roger's definitely starting to show his age. I think the plots kind of conflict, but again, the big question is, which one was the real Fabergé egg? Which one was the fake one? Did Kamal Khan know that the real one was getting switched for the fake one, or the fake one was getting switched for the real one?
I thought he didn't know because doesn't he accidentally smash the real one?
He does, but there's like that one shot where it's like when it's being exchanged by Orlov, where there's like that one brief shot where like I feel like he doesn't know because there's that one shot of Kamal Khan where he's just like kind of like that, like you just gave away the real one. But yeah, yeah. It's a little lost in translation, I think, but it is fun. VJ, I like as an ally.
Yeah, he was great. I love his. We have company. That's okay. It's a company car. Like I love all that stuff.
Yeah, why did VJ have to die? Justice for VJ, man.
Yeah, Octopussy's good. Yeah, I remember the first time I watched it, I was in like middle school or 6th grade, and I was sick one day, and I remember laying in bed and putting on Octopussy for the first time. It's
Yeah.
just one of those like memories.
Dude, and the thing I like about this one too is that the pre-title sequence is detached from the story too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's like its
yeah.
own
Fill her up.
filler up, please.
Oh, yeah. I'm not a big fan of "We're an all-time high."
I get a soft spot for All Time High.
It's okay. I mean, they didn't really have much to
I don't
work
I don't
with.
like the build up, but once you get to the chorus of All Time High, I sing along immediately. I'm like,
Dude, I can't wait till we rank the top Bond songs. And despite what you're gonna say that it's not part of an opening credits, "Where Is Everybody Gone" is gonna win that list.
the hell is
Ne-
that?
Necros' song.
Oh,
Where has everybody gone? Okay, number 18. What's your guess?
let's see, hold on. Thunderball.
Dude, yeah, right on the money. Do you see my list? Do you see?
No, but I was thinking, I was like, okay, I can't keep naming World Is Not Enough because it's probably not here and it's probably not in the top 10, which will make me mad. But I'll be um, but I was like, which one did? Because I know you didn't watch them all, but you just watched the ones that you didn't
I
have.
watched
Never.
I rewatched every single one except for Goldfinger and
Wait, you rewatched Doctor No?
Doctor No. I didn't rewatch Doctor No.
Okay.
Those are the only two I think I didn't rewatch in this.
Yeah, and then because the only reason I said Thunderball is because I remember we talked about it, and you said it went down the list after you finished it, and I completely agree. It went down on my list too. It used to be
Yeah.
really high up on my list, and
It's just too
it's
it's
fine.
it's too paint by the numbers Bond
Yeah,
to the
like
point where it's
Largo's
boring.
okay, you know.
I don't like Largo. I really don't like Largo. I think he's boring. I think he has an iconic look,
Yeah,
but his personality and his whole vibe is
yeah,
just boring. I think Fiona Volpe
I get it.
is the highlight of the movie. I
Yeah,
think she's fantastic. If
I
the
don't
whole
mind
movie
Domino.
was Domino's all right, like
Yeah,
everything's like all right. The opening sequence, it's all right. The jetpack's pretty cool. It's all right. A lot of the action scenes,
that's the
they're all
thing.
right.
That's the thing. It's following up probably the most iconic Bond film of all time in
Yep.
Goldfinger, and then it's just kind of like Goldfinger's so good, and this one's just like, yeah, it's there. You know,
It's fine. Yeah.
I think I really start to dislike Thunderball a little like less every time I watch it when I get to the underwater battle. That was tongue tied. Um, who is who? That's
Yeah,
what I want to know.
it's always been a big criticism for Thunderball from people that there's too many underwater sequences, and I completely
Really, I
agree.
mean, there's really not up until that point.
It feels like it though. It
Yeah,
feels slow.
because that sequence is so long, and then you don't know who's who. Like everybody has, like I get it. Like everybody's wearing like swimsuits, like the long what do you call those? The wetsuits.
Yeah.
They're all the same goddamn color. Like I'm like, where is Bond? Like that sequence, it feels like Bond's out of the movie for like 20 minutes.
Yeah. I like the beginning part of it. I like the intrigue with Angelo and the face swat. Like
Yeah,
like that's all interesting. And
yeah,
then once you get past that, after he steals the like he steals the plane and all that. Like
yeah,
after all that, it kind of goes downhill for me. I'm just kind of like, by the end, I just don't care.
yeah, yeah. Exactly.
Uh,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just a Bond movie for me that's just there. You know, yeah. There's nothing special, nothing nothing terrible, nothing.
it's like a solid, fine Bond movie.
Yeah, but it's not. It's like it's not one where I'm gonna be like, I'm in the mood for a Bond movie. Which one am I gonna put on? I'm Thunderball. No, I don't get that vibe from it. You know.
So my 17.
Okay, hold on. Let me look at my list because there's so many of them. I get lost. I am gonna go Live and Let Die. No, Majesties.
Nope. For your eyes only.
Okay, that was that. It was one of those three that was my guess.
So for your eyes only, notoriously, Alex and I have talked about this movie for years because I would literally watch this movie and then like a day later I would forget
I
everything
would
about
forget
it.
it immediately. Like I like
Yeah.
the thing is with For Your Eyes Only, I can tell you certain scenes. Like I can tell you, hey, there's a ski chase. involving Eric Kriegler.
Yeah, I
I,
wouldn't have been able to tell you that
I
until
could
this
tell you,
game.
I could tell you, Bond rock climbs up to a monastery.
That was one of the only things I remember.
I could tell you that they do the whole bait and switch with the villain, where it's like, oh, Columbo's supposed to be the villain, but it's really Aristotle Christados. I could tell you there's a car chase, a funny car chase, and the Lotus Spirit blows up. I hate you for doing that this movie. But I could not tell you a lick of the plot.
Right. Yeah, this one for me was always forgettable. There just wasn't anything like standout to me. Yeah. And I would just literally the only things I remember going into this rewatch was there's a woman with a crossbow, there's a guy with like weird looking glasses, and there's Bond climbing up like a
banana too.
Like it just wasn't memorable to me at all. And so rewatching this one was the most exciting one to rewatch because I was telling Alex, it felt like I had a new Bond movie to watch because I did not remember much of anything. So I watched it and I was like, this is pretty good. I was enjoying watching it. Yeah, I think the plot is kind of by the numbers.
Yeah. We need to get like the ship's like defense systems.
Yeah. Christados was like fine. Like I liked Julian Glover, but he was just kind of like whatever. But where this movie really stuck out,
the revenge story.
No, actually, I'll get into that.
Okay.
The good stuff was the action sequences are so fun and so inventive, and it's like
the music, man.
The car chase where they're going down the hills in the little car, like rolling down, and then they send someone over the cliff, and then they bump into them when they're going down. Like that's so cool and fun. Yeah. And like seeing Bond not have his car, like and then like have to take another car, it was great. And then the ski chase.
The ski chase is awesome.
It's so good, and it's like there's so many different phases of it where it's like they're chasing him, and then they're going down the like jump, and Kriegler parks his car at the bottom, and he's trying to snipe Bond.
It's like, I love the setup. Because it's like he and BB are going to watch Kriegler because it's like a ski competition, but they have like the rifles where they're shooting the targets. So immediately you're like, this guy's up to no good.
Yeah. And Kriegler is a fine blonde, big blonde architect guy.
Yeah. Kriegler.
That whole sequence is you go from that, and then you got a skier chasing a bobsled. It's like it's a
well, it's the same guy who did the Rocky, so I'm just like, like the music just puts you in a good mood in this movie.
It's just fun. Like the action sequences are so fun. But by the end, like when you get to the monastery, I feel like that part's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a few great action sequences. But the rest of the movie's kind of forgettable. The revenge story was not
necessary.
It just wasn't played up enough.
Yeah.
Like it's set up really well where you get that shot where it's just like her eyes and she's like, I hate everyone, I'm gonna kill the world. And then they don't really do anything with that.
Yeah.
Her and Bond have a couple little discussions about like, oh, if you gotta dig 2 graves. Like if you
hold on. Is this the one where like Kriegler has no, I think I'm thinking of Living Daylights. Because there's one, I think it was either Kriegler or it was either Necros. Has like that one guy by the pool and Bond shoots them into the pool. I think with like a harpoon.
It might have been. It's probably Kriegler. I don't think it's Necros.
Okay.
If you're asking me about this movie, I'm struggling to remember even as we're talking. So,
it's not a very memorable movie, no.
Which is kind of the problem.
The problem I have too is it's like, why are we casting like 18-year-olds to like hook up with like 50-year-old Roger Moore?
Yeah, and they play up that with BB, which I think is pretty funny, where he actually does reject her, and I love Roger going, "How about we go out and get you an ice cream?" Like that was good. But I was talking to you the other day. I think this movie would have been much better if Timothy Dalton was Bond. And he almost was.
It fits Dalton. It at least fits, like, it has that Living Daylights feel to it.
Yes. It's more, he could have played up the darker aspects of this movie, the revenge aspects. Bond kicking Locke off of the side of the cliff, while it's a cool moment, I do agree with Roger Moore's trepidation about doing it, where I feel like it does not fit Roger Moore. It does not play to his strengths. Yeah. This movie is too grounded for a Roger Moore Bond movie.
Oh, yeah, because they were like, Moonraker, we had a space battle. We got to take it back.
I get the idea of wanting to do that. I think it was the right choice to do that.
Yeah.
but they don't play up Roger's strengths enough in this movie. They try to make him too grounded of a Bond, too serious of a Bond, and that's not the fun of a Roger Moore Bond movie.
Right. Right.
It would have fit Dalton much, much better.
Yeah.
So
That's the
that's
thing. Like, everybody's like, "Oh, like Roger's movies are goofy." I'm like, when you really think about it, it's really only a few of them that are super goofy. Like Live and Let Die, I don't think is really that goofy.
it's pretty
It's not
goofy.
that goofy. Well, compare it to like The Man with the Golden Gun or A View to a Kill or something.
They're all pretty goofy except
I mean, I think the Brosnan ones are more goofy.
yeah, Brosnan plays up goofiness a bit more outside of like Goldeneye probably. Um but yeah, I don't know. It always never really stuck out to me for Your Eyes Only. I wish Dalton had been Bond, and then I think it would have been better then. It's a fine Bond movie, but kind of forget him.
All right, what are we on? 17 now?
16.
16? I'm gonna go. Is This World Is Not Enough?
Nope. It is You Only Live Twice.
Oh, that's low. Wow, that's actually. I thought you were gonna put that higher.
Yeah, I like You Only Live Twice a lot. I've always had fun with it. As a kid, it was probably my favorite Connery one because it was just
It's the
fun.
most action-packed Connery one.
Yep, it's got some great stuff. Tiger Tanaka,
I
the
love.
volcano layer.
Yeah, Little Nelly.
Yeah, Little Nelly, that's a fun sequence. But Blofeld as Donald Pleasance, like his big introduction, that's iconic,
That's
obviously.
fun. Yeah.
It's a fun one. It's a fine one. But I just think the whole part with Bond
Becoming
becoming,
Japanese.
yeah, that was no bueno.
I get that. And then my problem is too, is it's like, oh, Bond, you have to take a wife. So he marries a key, and then a key immediately gets murdered. And
He
it's
gets
like,
murdered and then replaced.
yeah.
And I'm like, what the
By
hell?
Kissy. I'm like, who the hell is Kissy?
Yeah, that was. They should have just had it be Aki the whole time. She was great.
Yeah, I love
But this one, it definitely starts to build up towards the more outlandish Roger Moore type stuff because you got like a space thing eating spaceships,
Yeah.
or eating satellites. Like,
a capsule, yeah.
yeah, that was interesting. And Blofeld's iconic, but he's not my favorite Blofeld. And even on this rewatch, actually, I liked him a little less because
That's
I
interesting.
love
Okay, that's
I
interesting.
loved the Blofeld in the two one From Russia with Love and Thunderball. That Blofeld is terrifying, like
Because
really
he's not
scary.
shown.
What?
Because he's not shown.
Yeah, but even more than that, his voice is creepy.
Yeah, his
His
voice is
his
creepy.
actions are creepy. The way when people are around him, Rosa Klebb is like pooping herself because she's like in the same room as him. And
Yeah.
then when you get to him in this, he comes out and he's like, "Hello, 007."
Yeah,
I'm like,
nice.
"You're not really scary."
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I think that they were thinking maybe like the facial scarring would be scary, and it probably was at the time. But
I love Donald Pleasance. He's great, but I just think Blofeld wasn't as effective as he could have been if he was a little bit more intimidating.
Yeah, that whole like last like chunk of the movie, I'm like, this goes on a bit too long, and
It doesn't help that this is the movie that got spoofed the most by Austin Powers.
you were saying that, yeah. And it's
So,
obvious, yeah,
when they're in the volcano lair, all I hear is Austin being like, "Where's Dr. Evil's secret volcano lair?"
or I just hear Dr. Evil going, "Welcome to my volcano lair."
Yeah, like it doesn't help that